I thought it'd be really cool to bring you in here. Firstly, so I could just have fun for a minute.
Okay.
But that was fine. But the body, I've been doing some, obviously, but I've been doing some work with you around the body the last few weeks. And I guess the theme of this whole series is kind of around business and purpose and creativity. And we now understand how important the body is in this whole scenario. So I think it'd be cool to start with kind of that whole idea around, I guess the thing that I'm looking at with you at the moment is just, I didn't realize how much shame I have around the body, and particularly how it's perceived by other people. And the fact that we have cameras here and we're on the thing and we're at this place which is broadcasting out to the world and then developing in the process a very different relationship with the body. And I think I'd like to start with maybe not all the way back, but at least kind of a little glimpse of how you got the work that you're doing today, which is helping people finding a very different relationship with their body, how you got curious about that in the first place.
Oh, I love that. Love that question. Thank you also for inviting me to talk about this, because I could talk about this like all day long.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so the work I do now, it's evolved and it's still evolving, but you are right. It has everything to do with the body. I actually used to be an international event planner. And then because of my own body saying, I've had enough, I cannot do this life anymore, that was when I started getting curious too about like what was happening within myself. And then I turned to yoga, breath work, started studying trauma, and then realizing how important the nervous system is, something that we don't talk enough about and a lot of people don't really know about, that at least are starting to talk about. And then I became a stretch therapist, and I just got even more curious about the body, just recognizing how empathetic I could be, how much I could tell about a person by how they moved and by what was happening inside of their body. I realized just how literal our bodies are, which fascinates me. We could talk more about that. And now I work as a trauma-informed yoga instructor and stretch therapist. I'm currently getting certified, dual certification for TRE and neurogenic yoga. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. Didn't want to just sneeze immediately in the middle of that. But TRE stands for tension and trauma releasing exercises. And it is the coolest practice by far that I've learned. I am very excited to get certified in it. I should be certified by the end of the summer. And that taught me even more about the body and the nervous system and trauma and how to heal. And then I'm also an Ayurvedic wellness educator, which is all about mind, body, soul, and individualized medicine and getting in touch with nature in order to understand our own systems and how to heal. And it's very based on like your own body and what your body needs, as opposed to just what's prescribed to everybody. So I've kind of created now this entire ecosystem within my life and business where every avenue that I'm studying has something to do with the body. And this organism that I'm in that is constantly receiving feedback and then acting in a way and then doing different things, and just this light, and how is this affecting me in this conversation, and what is the energy of the space, and what's the quality of the air, and how's this water, and do I need to eat? You know what I mean? It's like I finally feel like I am fully in touch with the human experience.
I love this, your body grabbed your attention at some point. And what came to mind was just the number of founders and people building businesses or who have had a completely different direction in their lives or careers as a result of something catastrophic, or maybe not even catastrophic, but their body breaking down at some point. And I'm just thinking about Shane Heath at Mudwater. The reason he created this Mudwater product was because his body was giving him the jitters and anxiety. His body was telling him that the way that he was drinking coffee, something had to change. And I think about that as it's almost like this bypass story of here's a whole generation of people who I think are choosing to do things differently because their body is talking to them. And yet it's only in, like, I guess, in Venice, in LA, and other parts of where we're really understanding wellness culture around how important the body is and all of it, that this is even normal to have this kind of conversation around how the body is impacting our work and careers and health and kind of purpose and the whole thing.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, that's why I moved out here.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Philadelphia. Then I was in New Jersey for a while when I was married, and then I worked in New York and lived in New York. And when I was studying everything there, I mean, it was in the midst of COVID. So talk about shock to the nervous system too. That's when I'm going through, a little bit before, but that's when I'm going through all of it. And I think that's when people really did start talking about it more. At least that's when I noticed it becoming more acceptable to talk about what's happening in the body, because everyone was just obsessed with health at the moment and then thinking about those things. And then TikTok was big and social media, and we're all home and we're all just kind of losing our minds cohesively together, going out in nature. Like, then we're all of a sudden being like, wait, we miss nature. Wait, we miss moving. Wait, we don't want to be sedentary. We don't want to be held inside. Like, we want to go do things. So I think the conversation amped up in a really big way. And then I got certified with yoga and trauma. That's when I really realized, in the midst of my certification, was like, I want to work with women. I want to help, like, women and kids. Nothing against men, but I want to help women and kids, mainly because I'm a woman and it's my own experience, and I was a child, so I can speak to that, right? Like, I don't have a man's experience. It's hard to say. But that's who I specifically was like, I can identify. I understand the trauma. I understand the collective issues we're all dealing with. How can I help them heal? But the issue I was having was, in New York, the energy around yoga was very competitive, very workout, fitness. How can I look better? How can I be tinier? Like, how can I do this crazy move and be and like everything online too. And you look up Instagram accounts and it's like either overly sexualized or super fitnessy, and they're so flexible and mobile and doing all these things. And here I am studying the body, studying yoga as a modality to heal. And I'm in this environment where I'm like, I don't think this is the right city for me at this moment to do this thing. And so I really, sat with it and meditated on it. My brother was out here and I'm like, I need to go to California, Venice, Santa Monica, right? This whole area. Cause I'm like, I think the people there get it. I think they've been doing it for a while. And granted, you're going to see weird things too. There's like goat yoga and like yoga and wine and all this stuff, right? But at least it was people that were willing to have the conversation around trauma, healing. Cause I felt like too, I had already known people. The people I knew that came out here to California were ones who were trying to get away from situations on the East Coast to heal. So I think for me, it was kind of like, oh, that's where people go to heal. Like,
yeah. And it's funny, even the idea of just trauma, I think, initially I would have thought, well, that was which there has been some big dramatic things in my life which have happened. But this idea that any of us have escaped trauma.
Yeah. And
when you say it, I'm like, yeah, everybody is navigating it. The last 5 years of trauma for the entire world. And I think we're just, what I guess the angle that I look at from, I don't think I've talked about this yet, but mental health. When you say that to me, well, not you. When somebody says that to me, I have a bit of a challenge with it because it implies to me, I look at all these companies who now have big budgets for mental health as a result of the last few years. They're like, let's throw money at something. Let's throw money at a Headspace app or a calm meditation app and all this stuff. And it's very much, I don't see a lot of connection between, it's almost like the mind and the head is separate from the body. It's like two separate issues. And so I guess one of the big intentions with this series has been reflecting on my own journey, which, some of the modalities that you talked about in terms of getting in the body and finding a new connection and relationship with it, and it being so relevant to the money that I make in the world. Like, the safety of my nervous system is directly related to the money that I make. Like, what? And so I think there's what I find fascinating is that there's this huge opportunity to really spell it out of how that's all directly tied together, rather than here's the solution to mental health, which is a prescription pill or an app where people don't really have a clue what that means. And I see a lot of that in the corporate world. I'm just like, ugh.
Oh yeah. I mean, my clients, when I talk to them, it's so fascinating because like I had one client who was so not in his body, totally in his head, taking certain medications to make him even more in his head. And then when I'm talking to him, get deeper talking to him as I'm working with him and stretching him and stuff, starts explaining how he's now disconnected in his marriage, having difficulty connecting with his children, right? And then he's deeply unhappy, has extreme anxiety and depression, but is making, you know, all these choices and trying to make more money and expand, right? And so in his mind, he's being so productive. He's like, I'm taking this medication. It's making me so productive. I'm great. But then the rest of his life's falling apart, right? And so he has focused so much on the mental aspect, to your point, that he's productive. He's doing the things, right? But then he's not listening to the other cues that are happening. Oh, I can't connect. Oh, I have anxiety. I have depression. And his solution is, I'm just going to have you stretch me because that's relaxing. You know, I just need a little bit more time to relax, or I got to get out of my head. And I think so many times it's like, it is a part of it. It's all very connected, but people will try to intellectualize how they're feeling. They think it's just mind over matter. They think, oh, I just need to get more organized, or I need to do this thing. When in reality, what the body is asking them to do with all of these signs, with feeling withdrawn, because withdrawing and feeling disconnected is a major sign of like, I'm not listening to what's happening in my body. And we can get more into that with like polyvagal theory and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, exactly. but that's the kind of stuff where it's like, you're not connected to a part of you. And like you said, you're only living up here. And then people are trying to address mental health and only look at the brain, but then they're totally ignoring the fact that maybe your body needs to rest. Maybe there's a lot of other needs you're not meeting, that you're not taking care of, you know, and just so that you can, oh, I just need to fix this. It's just really a mindset. You know, they say that. And there's a point. There is like definitely a point to that, because it's about balance. We talk all about balance. So to a certain extent, you do need to have structure. I don't want to say discipline because I feel like that is a little rigid, but you need to have structure. So you need to have a mindset, but you need to have a mindset that allows time to sit with the body and get in the body and really understand, like, how do I feel about this? Do I need to push through right now, or do I need to take a break? I noticed that my wife does this thing and then I feel a little kind of way. Maybe we need to talk about it. Maybe I need to take more time to be with my kids. Maybe I'm not being as present. And then we just end up living in our heads and we're totally disconnected, where our body's giving us all these cues. Like growing up, we learn about the 5 senses. But then when we're older, we don't really do much with them. And as creatives, we need to be engaged in all of our senses all the time.
And we're all creatives.
Right? We're all creatives. It's like, I mean, getting a little spiritual, we're made in God's image. He's a creator. So like, we are naturally creatives. We want to create, you know, we want to make things. And when you are considering the body and when you're talking about the nervous system and the safety that you feel, you get into creative mode and you're able to do more with that.
I saw this thing on LinkedIn yesterday. I can't remember, it was somebody reposting it, which was, I think it was like a VC dude who's basically saying, if you're not doing a 90-hour week, 7 days in the office, you're like, who do you think you are? You ain't going to go anywhere. Meanwhile, like the experience that I'm having of going down this path the last couple of years of really starting to listen, and my natural response, maybe not my natural, but my default mode is I haven't done enough. If I'm at a place where I'm looking at my bank account, I need to bring money in, I need to go do 10,000 things, I need to send out 100 clients emails and blah. And what I've been practicing is like, no, I don't.
I love that. No, you know I approve of that.
Yeah, it's like, maybe what's the 3 things I can do today? And weirdly, by some miracle, today life feels immeasurably better than it did a few years ago, because I'm able to listen now and not override those systems. And it's so counterintuitive from what we've been told. Most people I know are in some sort of fear around money or stress or pressure or whatever the thing is, you know? And I think by and large, the solution that most people think is you haven't done enough, you need to go do more.
Yeah.
And it's so counterintuitive to what I now believe and, you know, this whole approach.
Yeah. And that's like the addictive cycle of it. It's like never enough, anymore. And like even with that particular client, not harping on it, but it was like that same thing. I need to make more money. I need to make more money. I need to make more money. Meanwhile, all these other aspects of his life are falling apart. His health too, falling apart. It's like, what's going to be the point of having all of that if you have no connection with your kids? I'm not saying he does. He's great now, but like no connection with your kids.
After all that stretching.
He's phenomenal. But you know, well, he was funny. He would call me his spiritual friend because we would end up having these talks where I try to pepper in some of these ideas, you know, because I want to keep some boundaries. Like, I'm just your stretch therapist at the moment. I don't need to be telling you everything. But if you're asking, you know. But anyway, it's like, it's not worth it to me to be disconnected from my family and all the people I love in my life, and to have my health failing, and to be so unhappy, you know. And to the point where you're saying, like, I did that. That was my life. So in 2018, I was at the height of my career. I was traveling once a month for work. I'm traveling all over the world doing massive events. I'm getting invited to private events as the youngest people that were there. You know, I had
Forbes under 30.
Yeah, actually, like nominate, you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like on Good Morning America, you know, we have like our client that was on there. We did a wedding and that got a lot of features. I'm a regular contributor like Martha Stewart. Like, I'm talking like the things I wanted to do. I'm like in magazines, finally getting recognized. And I wanted to end my life. Like, I mean, granted, I did have stuff happen. I lost my sister. I was going through a divorce. But that was the kind of stuff that put everything in perspective for me, where here I am working 80 hours a week, not even exaggeration. I'd be like, especially doing an event, the weekend event, I'd be going to bed at 2 a.m., waking up at 6 and doing it for a week straight, you know, going all day long, ignoring when I have to use the restroom, ignoring when I'm physically exhausted and can't keep going, ignoring when I need water, when I need food. You know, I was shriveling away. Like, if you see photos of me then, like I'm super thin, and I just kept masking it, being like, everything's great, everything's fine, right? Because in the event world, you have to. But internally, my mental health was shot and my physical health was going down the tubes. I mean, right before I finally said, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I said it many times, got ignored. But when I finally said I can't do this anymore, it's because like I had to be rushed to a clinic because I'm having all these health issues. Because I physically was having issues like keeping food in my body and keeping water down because I was so stressed. I would wake up in a panic at 5:30 in the morning and just be like, oh my God, how is this my life? But I got everything I wanted. That's the crazy thing. Like, if you were to, like, because, you know, people talk about manifesting and all this stuff, like, write it all down, right? I got it. When I was a teenager, when I was in my early 20s, I was like, I want to travel the world on other people's dime. I want to plan parties for a living, and I don't want to spend that money. Like, I want to live my life like a rock star. I want to just have the coolest, craziest life possible. Like, I want to be interesting, really. And that's what I was doing. I had people calling at me like, oh my God, where are you today? What are you doing? Right? You're doing all this stuff. I'm on yachts. I'm on a helicopter. Like, I'm doing all this crazy stuff. I'm planning parties in castles and hanging out with celebrities. I'm doing all of that. And then internally, I'm at home, literally being like, I shouldn't drive a car because I don't know. Like, but when I look at it, I'm sitting with the fact that, like, I got what I wanted, but I forgot to say, I'm really happy. I'm really healthy. I'm in a healthy marriage. You know, I'm surrounded by friends and family all the time. I forgot that. And I didn't realize until every single area of my life was failing how important that was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that story, I just hear it so often of we have been told that you'll be happy when you have this relationship, you're married, white picket fence, you have the job, career, title, kids, house, spare bedroom, I don't know.
Oh, I had the house.
We have the whole thing. Like, you'll be happy when you have this whole thing. And I think that idea is collapsing for an entire generation. Because financially, like, the odds of buying a house on an average person's salary is just like so like impossible. I don't say impossible, but difficult compared to what it used to be a generation ago. The idea that one stable income is stable, nope. Technology can change entire industries overnight. And so what you think is stable and is shares in a company and a mortgage, the whole thing is just like, oh yeah, cool, that's not stable. And I just think this idea that we can have this ending point of we're going to reach this place where we'll be happy, I think that bubble is popping for so many people at the moment, and we don't know what to do with it.
Oh yeah. Especially when everyone started working from home.
Yeah.
Some people loved it. Some people really thrived, right? They're like, oh my goodness, I can like throw in a load of laundry during lunch and I can roll up into this meeting and not have to worry about what I look like. Other people had struggled because they need connection. They do like going into the office. But I really think that we finally started talking about work-life balance and what that looked like. I mean, I remember a constant fight with me and my old business partner was the fact that I was coming into New York every day. It took me 2.5 hours. Like, people don't realize, like, I was getting up, I'd get on the train at 6:45, and then I didn't get to her depending on, so I would like leave at 6:30, right? I'd leave my house at 6:30, get to the train at 6:45. I wouldn't get to her until 9 a.m. Okay? And then I'm doing it, and then I'm leaving at 4. I'm not getting home until, again, 6:45. I'm gone 12 hours a day. And then I'm coming home and I have laundry to do and cooking. You know what I mean? I have more work to do. I have to spend time with my husband, right? I had a husband at the time, right? I have family. And then I'm doing that 5, 6, 7 days a week. And we used to have these arguments. And so then she started coming to me to work one day, but it was constantly this argument of like, do I really need to be there? And then it's so funny because now, flash forward to my life now.
The idea of like commuting 2.5 hours, like what?
Right? And that's why, but I was in that mindset of, I have to make it work. I have to do it. I have to put in the hours, work. The more you work, the more you're going to get. And I laugh because I make more money than I did now, or than I did then. I make more money now, sorry. I make more money now than I did then. I have a much better work-life balance than I did then. And I am healthier than I've ever been. So I look at it and I could see how I'm able to restructure it. And a lot of it did have to do with the mindset. I mean, I got a mindset coach. It was like gifted to me because basically, sorry, the spoiler alert, I'm not doing that anymore, right? We kind of discussed that. So like 2019 rolled around, sister had passed, going through a divorce, health issues. I finally come clean about the fact that I have an eating disorder. And my life is just falling apart around me. I'm so depressed. And I remember coming home. Ironically enough, this is what's funny. I had done an event in California, and it was the first event I ever did in California. And I came back from that event, and my business partner was like, you don't want to do this anymore, do you? Because that event broke me. It did. For a lot of reasons. But I was like, I can't physically do it. I couldn't physically do it anymore. My body had turned on me. It was getting so loud. I had ignored it for so long. I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
The signals were so loud. And so I said, yeah, I'm just going to take time off. I don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to go to art school? I almost considered that because I am a creative. I love doing that. And then I was like, I just want to like wear yoga clothes every day. Like, I just want to be healthy.
Yeah.
What's going to allow me to have a healthier lifestyle, better work-life balance? And so I started getting into health and wellness. But then it's really funny because even within that space, I saw how then a couple years later, I was pushing myself. I was in the same mindset. I need to get more clients. I'm doing back-to-back clients 5 hours at a time. And it's like, I'm like, whoa. And this last year I had to hit that reset again of like, what am I doing?
It's this constant, I love what you just said just about this idea that you just can't do it anymore. Like I really relate to that. I had that moment at the beginning of 2020 where my 2019, everything had imploded and just everything. And I got to that point of I'd done everything that I was told you're supposed to do. Like I had good school, good job, earning money, got the house, like the apartment in Venice, was having avocado toast, like did the whole thing, was wearing the clothes I was supposed to wear. And I was miserable. And life imploded. And I was just like, whatever that life was of this job and working for a paycheck and like that whole system, I just couldn't do it anymore. Like my body was like, no, that version of me has to die. Literally, it felt like a death. And to your point, it's like, and I found meditation around the same time. There was a book that, have you read Untethered Soul?
Yes. Yeah. So good. I actually did his program tied to that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I love him. So I read that book and I was like, wait, I have thoughts inside my head? Holy shit, I do.
Yeah.
And the similar commitment to you around just wanting to be healthy. I was like, whatever I'm going to do with my life, I was just turning 30 years old. I think I needed to figure it out, what was going on in my head. Otherwise, this pain and this suffering would chase me forever. And I made a commitment there and then to give myself my 30th year of just meditate. And then
I love that.
Yeah, it was cool. But it was this idea of just these check-in points of life will get so loud. And what I think is funny, it's not funny, but anxiety, depression, we have all these things of like something that needs fixing with a pill, whereas actually it's what work are you doing? What relationships are you in? What are your friends? Where are you living? Like that, if that's not working, it's going to show up in those forms.
Oh, yeah. And so 2 things. First thing, Untethered Soul, when I read it.
Yeah.
So I had a meditation teacher, this like Buddhist meditation teacher. We were meditating together, and he talked about Untethered Soul. So I read it, did the program, but my gripe with it was, this is impossible if you have trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so frustrated with that book. I mean, I love Michael Singer, right?
Yeah.
He hilarious. I love how he talks about we're all stardust. Like I just love the way he talks. He's great. But I was frustrated because I was like, yeah, this is great. Unless you have CPTSD, you can't do this. Because of how he talks about just let it go. Just like don't think about it. Like just don't do certain things, right?
That's so funny you say that. I know you have a second point. Yeah. Side, personal, whatever. Tom bought those books, the Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment. And he said to him, Holes, I'm going to give this to you when I'm done with them. You have to read them. And when he died, I saw them on his bedside table. So I took them and then didn't start reading them until like 6 months later. But my theory about where he was before he died was he was reading Untethered Soul and he was trying to figure it out. So that speaks directly to your point around he didn't have that experience necessarily, the one that I had with that book.
Yeah. And I get it because, and also funny, Tom, I got the guy's name who gave that to me was Tom as well. So it's like really kind of
classic.
a little god shot. But I do remember that. I remember being really frustrated. And that was another reason why I wanted to study the nervous system and trauma more. Because I did start seeing a therapist in that year and that woman saved my life. She helped me understand CPTSD and like parts in my head and what was happening in my body. Like she really did save my life. She helped me so much. And also the body keeps a score. That was like another thing I was doing. Mm-hmm. So when I was reading Untethered Soul, I was like, okay, yeah, great concept. Except for some of us, it feels near impossible. Like, how do I just stop the rumination? I can't. I literally felt like I couldn't. And so then that internalized me going, well, there's something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me. But I knew enough to know that there wasn't. Like, I had enough people around me to be like, no, that's not true. And I didn't want to believe that. Like, I knew a part of me was like, I don't want to believe that there's something wrong with me. Maybe I just need to know more. And it's funny because now that I have enough space, time, tools, I can do those things. I can shift my time and attention and energy and be like, okay, I'm not going to think about this thing and then don't. But then, I mean, it was literally impossible. And I'm like, I just need to meditate more. I just need to do more. And I found myself in this same habit of, like I said, like more and more and more, enough isn't. And I'm just like, holy cow, I could do this even with healing modalities.
Yeah.
And it's not enough.
And we see that, there's just so many people on this healing train. It's not enough. They need to fix it. And it's a lot.
Yeah. And the real healing for me came when I was out here and being told, what if you stop trying to fix it? What if you stop trying to heal this thing and you started to love yourself and you start to accept yourself? And what's interesting in that is it ties to my second point is, so anxiety and depression, I brought polyvagal theory before. So a lot of people, our nervous systems have 2 sides to it, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And a lot of times you'll hear the sympathetic nervous system just totally demonized. It's very demonized. And so we hear people that'll be like, we need to talk about parasympathetic nervous system. We need to get into rest and digest, right? Yes, and there's points to it that are really helpful where sympathetic system is also excitement. It's like play, right? We need it. It's not just, fight or flight, I need to get out of here. It's that, but it's also excitement and joy and like going out and doing things you really want to do. Okay. Rest and digest is, yes, rest, digest, let me get the time I need to relax and heal, but it's also depression. It's also disconnection. It's also dissociation. And so people have kind of just said good, this thing bad. And so what's happening when people are oscillating between anxiety and depression is they're going back and forth between this activated state, deactivated state, because it's too much to handle. So what happens is when we find safety in the body, that's being in like, that's when the vagus nerve is activated and we're in central vagal. Okay. That's like where we want to be. That's like where we have this window of capacity and we're going like, okay, things are coming in. I can handle it. It's okay. I can regulate again. Then I can go be more connected and regulate again, right? You're just kind of going in and out. What happens is that's the space we feel safe to feel emotions because we know how to regulate. When you're bouncing back and forth between anxiety and depression, it's because you have this split second of safety where you think you can feel something and then you go, nope, too much. I'm going to go down. I'm going to down regulate hard into depression. But then when you're depressed, you go, but I need to go do something. I need to get out of this. So then you activate back into anxiety. So it goes whoop, and shoots up. And so you just go bounce back and forth. It's why they can coexist at the same time. This is happening very like quickly, right, inside the body.
Yeah.
And it all stems because people don't feel safe. It all had this where safety in the body comes.
Yeah.
They don't have enough of their capacity to feel what they need to feel and work through it is so tiny.
I love that you're talking about this because that's kind of the last couple of months. That's been the real whoa for me, is around this idea of safetiness in the body. And it applies to everything. And in my relationships, my friends, my family, my business, my work, obviously physically as well. And I hadn't realized, like, I mean, there's so many people who talk about this from like a relationship perspective, which is like the feminine desire is just to feel safe. But that's how I discern relationships in my life now. That's how I discern people, is through that lens of safety.
Beautiful.
And if I think about working with clients at the moment or whenever in life, I'm gut checking for safety. And I go into that place of when I'm in the fear around money, it's because I don't feel safe within myself. So if I can rewire to safety and be like, I'm okay, I'm taken care of, it's all going to work out, because it always does. I have tangible proof again and again and again that it always works out. Then I don't need to act from like a reactive place.
Yeah.
And I don't need to say, oh, why aren't you send me the paycheck now? Or fear if a client drops out, which they have. That used to just spiral me so much. And now if a client drops out, okay.
Yeah. That's living in the ventral vagal. That's living in that yes and. Because we're so used to flip-flopping, you know, we get to extremes. And societally, culturally, you know, like just maybe because of trauma, whatever we grew up with, right? We kind of go to extremes where, and we see it all the time. But the cool thing is when you start to heal your nervous system and you start to grow your window of capacity as a leader, that's where you learn to hold a lot and make way better decisions. And
money.
Exactly. That's why you have to hold a lot, right?
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you're looking to hold, you're able to handle a lot. And so it's been really cool because, like I said, I'm making more money than I ever have. My business is actually small, but I have more clients. Like I had a business partner and then she didn't want to, you know, we didn't want to work together anymore. And so I took over the clients. I also got 2 new ones. Plus I have all of my wellness clients because I do like social media stuff. So I have more clients than I ever had. I can handle all of it. And I'm healthier. I'm working less. Like it's crazy, Holly, but it's all about, because I'm growing this window. Now what happens is I start to get bits of frustration, or I'm starting to feel sensations in my body. And then I'm know now to take a minute and go, oh, I need to set a boundary. Oh, I need to take a break. So like last night that happened to me. I wasn't feeling well. I hadn't eaten enough. I was stretching my schedule too thin. I said yes to helping someone and I really didn't have time. And I found myself really, really frustrated. Went past my window of capacity into frustration, anger, you know, and I was like, but I still have work to do. I need to get done. And so I was like trying to work through it. And I was able to calm down, which was nice because that's where the mental part came in, where I was like, we'll be fine. We'll get over this. You'll be okay. But then I stopped and went, Is this the smartest thing to do right now? Or should I take a break, go eat, go do something fun? That's exactly what I did. I was like, this doesn't have to be done right now. Like, I am not solving world hunger with this video that I'm editing for a client, right? I'm literally not.
Yeah.
This isn't even due until today anyway. Like, I was just trying to get ahead. Am I going to keep pushing my body and stay in this dissociative state? Stay in this, or do I want to go meet my need and come back into that ventral vagal, right? Do I want to come back into that place where I feel better? And so I made that decision of, yeah, I'm going to go do that. So I went and ate. I talked about it. I needed to just kind of talk about it, just air my frustrations. So I have to be like, yes, I feel frustrated. Here's why. And then I sat and watched a TV show that I really enjoy. And then I'm like, okay, we'll maybe go back in a little bit and do a little bit of editing work if we feel inspired.
Yeah.
And I did. But that's the difference I make now. Old me pushed through it. I was taught to just like ignore the feelings, push through it. We have a timeline, we have a time crunch. And new me is just like, is it that important?
It's kind of it's almost like the responsibility. You talk about this kind of capacity to hold money and a business. And my relationship with money has changed in the sense that I see it as it's responsibility. And there's a lot of money coaches who talk about it, but it's a sense of being a steward. Like, I don't have $100,000, but am I responsible for $100,000? Can I be responsible? And I remember when I left my old company in 2021, and I went freelance for myself and started pitching. There was a client I was pitching at the time, and that piece of work for my old company, it would have been a 50, 60 grand piece of work, of which I got about a third commission. Mm-hmm. But I pitched for 50K, like what my old company, but I didn't believe it. It was such a big gap from what I was comfortable pitching on behalf of someone else as opposed to pitching for myself.
Yeah.
So I pitched for that. I was good. I could have done the job, but like, it was so big. I didn't have the capacity or the responsibility to even think that I could suddenly close a 50K deal, even though I'd done 100K deals several times beforehand. But there was just something about it in that capacity. And so the work, like how I keep looking at this now is like, do I have this capacity? How am I stretching this capacity to hold? And I love how you talk about it from a, again, it comes back to the body perspective, which is, if I can't take responsibility for myself and my body, how can I take responsibility for 10 grand, 100 grand, 10 million, So it's so directly related. Like, I need to do what you're doing, which is, what do you need right now, little body? How can I take care of you?
Yeah.
And the same applies to, what do you need right now, 100 grand? How can I take care of you?
Well, it's the same type of self-esteem, right? So you talked about being a steward.
Yeah.
That's how I view my organism, my body, is like, I have to take care of this thing, and I had to build self-esteem around, I know how to take care of things.
Yeah.
So like, I need my belief system to be, I'm responsible with the things that I'm gifted and given. I take care of them. I show them honor and respect. I use them wisely. And if I'm mistreating my body, subconsciously, my brain is like, we don't treat things well.
I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working with people around eating disorders, one of the first things I have them do is just very simply meet their daily needs in terms of like the simplest one. And it's so funny how many of us with eating disorders do this. Go pee when you have to go pee. It's the wildest thing. Like, drink water. You thirsty? Go drink water. Right? It's so crazy. But like, when I was an event planner, I didn't want to have needs. I resented my body for needing a break. I resented my body for being thirsty or for having to go pee. I mean, how many times I don't know for you, but it would get like, women get made fun of like, oh God, you got to pee again. Oh, you can't just hold it on a ride. Oh, we have to stop and pull over on this car ride so you can pee. Oh, I'm in the window seat. Oh, you have to get up so you can go pee on like the airplane. I mean, I know this sounds silly and funny, but like it's small things like that trigger your brain to go, we have to ignore whatever signal we're getting to relieve ourselves. And I say, and that's a word we use, is relief, right? We're trying to relieve ourselves the discomfort that we're feeling. And so Now, like I'm reading this book called Call of the Wild right now. I absolutely love, highly suggest. It's all about finding comfort in them. Like, how can I be a little more comfortable right now, right? And even while you're talking, there's ways I'm tuning up my body where I'm like, oh, am I holding my shoulders up? How can I be a little more comfortable, right? How can you be a little more comfortable right now? And I might even like sit, I'm not gonna move my legs.
Take my shoes off.
Yeah, right? I might take my shoes off and sit cross-legged. I might. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But it's like, how can I be a little more comfortable right now? And before, it was always like, how can we just be stoic and not be? And in the professional world that I was in, that was praised. I don't do that anymore. I'm over it. But I also realized, and this is where the organizational part comes in and the responsibility part comes in, is, am I doing my part to take care of myself? Am I bringing snacks? Am I bringing my water bottle? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I setting up my schedule so that I'm not overfilling? Because am I setting myself up for success? It's not going to happen if we're not actually thinking about, and that's where, I mean, if you want to talk about feminine, masculine, or just like structure versus flow, right? We need to have enough structure, enough of a container to then flow very freely through it and have that creativity. So I love time boxing when it comes to schedule. I love preparation. You talked about planning. Yeah, as a planner, I learned that preparing is very different than planning, and I do my best to prepare so that I can have enough flow throughout my day. So constantly I laugh. Like this morning it happened. I go to post for a client and I look and I go, oh, I already scheduled all of these. And I'm like, thank you, past me, right? Like myself already did that to prepare so that I could come here and not have an easier morning, right, before I came here. Doing little things like that. It's like, am I preparing? Am I setting myself up for success? I have like snacks in my car.
Yeah.
I drive around a lot for work when I'm going to different clients, and I'm like going to Malibu and then I'm going to West Hollywood. I keep snacks in my car. I have my water bottle with me. It's little things like that I'm building trust within my organism.
Think about there's a couple of things you said there just of this idea of appearances. And I think about my work in London. I wore this Oxford shirt and black jeans, and it was very much if I'm going to go meet a client, what appearance I'm putting on, what impression of myself am I trying to give? And I don't think I do that as much now. But like I'm still wanting to pitch for work and I work and recruit for businesses and shit. But I don't think I'm trying to put on an impression anymore because I don't know. I think there's this element of abandoning yourself. Yeah. And I think we've been taught that you have to be a certain way to be successful. You have to look a certain way, present a certain way, and at the expense of it's self-abandonment.
Oh, 1000%.
Yeah.
And it's denial, self-denial of needs.
And then that's like, I say that because I'm bringing back the capacity for money. Like it is that. If we're constantly going to say, I don't trust you to the body, I'm not going to give you what you want, what you really want. It's like this energetic flow which just gets clamped up. Of course we're not going to receive what we really want.
Yeah, and it ties into relationships as well.
Yeah.
If I'm not honoring the signals in my body telling me, I don't want to do this thing right now. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to connect. I don't want to do that. Or I really need connection. I really need safe touch. If I'm not even meeting those needs within a relationship, then my body's not going to trust me. It's not going to feel safe. And the trick is safety in the body. It's become so important, and to the point now where every area of life, and you talked about this too, I'm thinking, do I feel safe? How could I feel more safe right now? And the coolest part of it is that I'm now flipping that and looking at my clients that way, asking myself, when a client does something that sometimes I'll look a little sideways, like, what the heck was that? I'm able to go, oh, they might not feel safe right now. I need to check in with them. For example, I had a client come to me, it was a referral, and she wanted this very specific contract, NDA, everything. And I was already performing a service that I was like new, that I like never really done. It was kind of like the edge of my scope, and I was kind of expanding into. So it was already a little uncomfortable. I had just gone out on my own. I was just feeling things, right? And here I have this client being like, I want these things to be in the contract and I want this NDA and da-da-da-da. And we're going back and forth. And And then she'd be like, oh, but that doesn't quite look right. And so in my mind, I'm just going like, I'm making mistakes. I'm not doing that. I don't even want her. I don't want this client. She's going to be too difficult. She's too much. That's my brain's telling me. Too difficult, too difficult, too difficult. It must not be meant to be because she's so difficult, right? And then I paused and I asked myself, like, is that what's happening? Or is she seeking safety and she just doesn't feel safe right now? And so then I flipped it back on her and I was like, hey, what do you need this to say to feel safe to move ahead? And then she had to pause because I could tell there was something happening, right? And so then she had to pause. And it was so funny because here she was trying to make all these changes. And then she paused and she goes, actually, it's just this one word that bothers me. Can we just change this one word and add this in? I'm like, not a problem. You give me the phrase. I will plug that in whenever you need to feel safe.
The safetiness of orienting a business around safety, especially when you work for yourself, I think is I think it's everything. Because if I'm not, like, for me, one income stream is not safe because that can go overnight. So I want 5 income streams that are independent. So if one
That's
or
what
two,
you're told you should have too, by the way.
Yeah, that's what apparently other people call this. But I want that. That's an aspiration. I want to have 3 clients with my recruiting that if one of them does drop out, cool, have 2. And then I want to have other income streams in the other stuff that I do. But the foundation of that is safety, because I also know that the creativity, the writing, the music, the business, the visioning, like all the stuff that seems to come through me, I need the safetiness of the finances to be able to tap into the creativity.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of contracts as well, I had a thing a couple of weeks ago that I thought this contract that I had signed with a client, which would give me a referral fee, I thought it went both ways and it didn't. It just was in their favor. And I'm kicking myself because I hadn't taken care of my needs around safety in that. And great, it's an opportunity, but it's also, I'm getting information of, is this the kind of client I want to be working with?
Yeah.
So I think when you talk about those relationships, we get all these we get the information about people, and we get to say, is this a safe relationship? Is this a safe client? Do I even want to be working with these kind of people? And we get to choose that. We get to, I think this idea that no is the most powerful thing, because as long as we keep saying no, of like, no, this doesn't work for me anymore, better always arrives. It does.
Yeah, it does. Well, and because you're showing up for yourself. And so of course better's going to arrive when you're showing up for yourself, because you basically just said, nope, not aligned with this anymore. And then when a yes comes along, then you open yourself up for the yes, and to everything you're saying, it's like, yeah, it's boundaries. Boundaries were terrifying for me growing up, even within relationships, of like terrified. And I used to try and leave things kind of open-ended so that I could then be off the hook for stuff. And then I'm realizing more and more as I go through, and like this client helped show me with contract and stuff like that, where it's like something just came up that I'm actually gonna have to revisit our contract. Yesterday was part of the stress of, that's not my scope of work. Sorry, this is like a new thing you're adding that's not in my scope, and I have to figure out how to address that. It's very uncomfortable for me.
I had that.
I have to do that, right? Like,
yes.
I just want to say yes, and let me do it. And it's just like, is that the smartest thing to do? Do I feel safe, or now do I feel unsafe? And we created these boundaries, the scope to both have safety within this contract. Now I need to honor myself and go back and be like, hey, I reviewed our contract. I realized this isn't in the scope. Let's talk about it. Do you still want me to do it? If so, this is my price. And it's having those conversations. They're scary, and that's where you talk about capacity. That's my edge. That is an edge for me. The cool thing is, if I meet that edge and then rest and then come in a little bit, then have some self-care, have some compassion, have some patience, grace, I'm going to expand. I'm going to grow. It's when I keep pushing through that boundary and go, you know what? I don't want to meet that edge. I'd rather just people please and do it anyway. And I'm not actually helping. I'm actually now abandoning myself, and we're retreating, and we're going in, and we're not growing. I'm not growing my capacity. And so it's this fine dance. It's this fun little balance. And this is why who you're around is so important, because the other part of this is you get to borrow people's nervous systems. And I think that's like the funniest concept, and I love it, but it's the truth.
I haven't had that before.
And this is why safety is so important. And it's what's cool about it is all of the work I'm doing in my body, because I have two arms of my company. I have right, just like the nervous system. I have two parts of my company where I have the one part where it's body work, and like yoga and wellness. And then I have the other arm that's marketing, social media management, design. And it's still kind of wellness focused, like whether it's mental health or even like products within the wellness space. So that's kind of cool. And women, I said work a lot with women. But I'm noticing that all the concepts I'm learning in my wellness business have so much benefit in my more corporate marketing business and creative business, because when I'm teaching a trauma-informed yoga class, the whole time I'm saying things like, this is your practice. These are just suggestions. This is an invitation. If at any time you want to take a break, take a break. If you need to make a modification, make a modification. Like, I'm doing all of this inviting, empowering language.
Yeah.
Then also when I show up, my job is to not get codependent and get super attached. My job is to hold the energy of the space. And that means I have to stay as regulated as possible. I have to listen. I have to watch for cues. I have to notice when people are dissociating, when they're about you, when they're going to get angry, right? I'm noticing all these things. I have to take up like this wide view, hold the space, and then zoom in and just make sure everyone's okay. And so I'm now able to take those same concepts and apply them into the other part of my business, where I'm becoming acutely aware of like communication certain clients need to feel safe. And then when they're dysregulated, then what do I need to do now to help bring them back into a safe, regulated space? Yeah. Right? It's like, instead of just like it's like, what would I do if this was a trauma client? Like, it's like, that's what I have to think. That's how I have to view them. And not in a disempowering way, but the opposite of like, how can I just show up in a really compassionate, safe, loving way that even if it's just about a social media post, right? Which seems so trivial. I don't know what's gone on in their life. They're not a trauma client. I have no clue how me missing a deadline might show up as abandonment in their body, right? Like, I just have no idea. And so I just have to take the concepts I'm learning and apply them so that I can be as safe as a person as possible. Am I doing this perfectly? Heck no. I'm trying my best, but it's cool to see how I can take what I'm learning with the body and apply it to the other part of my business and then see really positive results.
It's the word that you just said was empowerment. And I just think of like girl power and like kind of some cheesy whatever in my head. Like, yeah, exactly. But it's sovereignty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think especially if I look at the way at like the economy or people having jobs or working for other people, it's this idea that we're giving our power away. And I think right now there's a lot of people being laid off. Industries are changing overnight. And I think with that, what I'm seeing is a lot of people feeling very powerless. And feeling like their worlds are colliding, that they have no autonomy, and it's all. And I think what this shift of, I've got somebody coming in next week who's talked about fractional work, and that's what I'm doing. I'm a fractional recruiter. I took the skill set that I have, and I now apply it to multiple clients, and I'm working for myself. And I see that as I think that's the biggest rising shift. And whatever event planning or marketing or sales or whatever, people want to work for themselves. People want to have their sovereignty and autonomy to be able to navigate what life throws at them. And that's not to say that people won't have jobs anymore, but I think there's going to be such a shift in the way that we relate to them. But coming back to this idea of empowerment is because we want to be in the driving seat on some level. And when we're not, that's when the anxiety and the panic attacks and the depression and all the stuff is, because it's like, we don't feel in control. And we're not in control. But we can prepare to the best of our ability. Life is going to hit us like a train truck, but we can prepare with tools and build our capacity along the edge.
Exactly. And it's tough, because when you're supposed to be a quote unquote expert, people do want you to just make decisions and decide for them. And I have to do my best. I'm learning still when that's appropriate to just go, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this. And then I'm learning when it has to be, I cannot make this decision for you. And that's really hard. I think any professional understands that, of when to just have to decide for the client and when to not. And it's funny because you have each other's wounds butting up against each other, right? And of knowing what it's like to have decision fatigue as a business owner, and then here's another decision you have to make for a client that should be doing it themselves. Like, it brings up all the things. But this is why when you know how to regulate your nervous system, when you know how to handle it, you can take a step back, look at the whole view, and go like, am I just being petty by not doing this? Am I just being petty by controlling this right now? Right? What is the best outcome for both people? How are both of us going to feel safe in this situation?
And you're also just not being a war against other people with your unregulated shit.
Right? I mean, it's so funny, even when I'm driving. So I don't want to be rushed right now. I am just like, it's probably driving some people in my life really nuts. I can tell because they're very used to being like, they're amped and I want to be amped with them. But what happens is when you start to regulate your body, you get really used to that feeling in your body. And then when someone around you is dysregulated and trying to pull you into their dysregulation, it becomes incredibly painful. You're just like, nope, not rushing me. I'm not doing it. And then you have to keep pulling back, right? One way to do that is to focus on the spine, focus on your feet. That's going to keep you grounded.
I had that the other day with you and my family. I called you.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, I'm being hijacked right now.
Yep, you get hijacked. And then you have to come, either call a person or go be near a person that's going to pull you back to the nervous system, ground them, right? Ground you, I mean. And so I'm having to do that and feel that, what it feels like in my body. And then it's funny because when I allow myself to get into that little bit of dysregulation, it constantly happens in like road rage where I'll be like, I'm late for my client or something, you know what I mean? Or like traffic's happening and I hate being late. I want to show up on time because especially when I'm showing up for my trauma-informed clients, like,
if you're 1 minute late, they'd be traumatized by that.
Well, if they're not, you know what I mean? I give myself leeway, but I try my best.
That's a bad joke.
Exactly. But I try my best to be like on time or a little early. It depends. Some clients hate when you're early.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's a funny thing too. Again, you learn who's going to be kind of bothered by that. Like, why are you rushing me now? Right? That kind of happens. So you have to be, you learn. You kind of figure it out. But I don't like to be late. I don't like to, I want to be reliable, right? My goal is to be as reliable as possible. We live in LA. I have to go from Culver City to WeHo. That could take me 25 minutes. It could take me 40 minutes. I do not know, right? So there are some days when I am like, I gotta go. And then I look at myself and I'm able to stop myself now and be like, am I driving too close to this person? Am I driving erratically? Am I not stopping fully at a stop sign? I know this sounds silly, but I start to think about the person in front of me and the people around me. And I go, am I making the other drivers feel safe right now? And it's right. Isn't that hilarious? But I see myself now, well, someone will cut me off and then I want to go so close to them and I have to go, Teal, are you making this person feel safe?
Yeah. But then they're all defensive. And
I don't want to feel safe.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is here I am wanting to impose onto them and then they feel unsafe. And why? It's because I don't feel safe. And that's a me thing. And so then I have to go sit back in my, seat a little more, relax my shoulders over, take a deep breath in, pause. I pause a little extra at the stop sign that time. I take my time a little more and I just go, I'm not in a rush. If I need to pull over and say, hey, I'm running a couple minutes late, I send that text, right? Communication, I just communicate. Hey, I'm stuck in traffic, I do it. As opposed to trying to rush, maybe get into an accident or possibly cause one, all because of what I'm trying to get to that client. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just thinking a lot about how can I feel safer? How can I make other people around me feel safe?
Yeah, and I think that's how you find safetiness as well. It's like, I think about it from, like, I'm finding a lot of self-esteem at the moment in being of service to other people who are asking me for advice. And I'm getting to be of service. And in that place, I'm realizing, oh, wait, I can trust myself. Like, what's coming out of my mouth is actually pretty good shit sometimes.
You're brilliant. You're brilliant, Holly. I love our conversation.
But, like, I didn't know that until I was able to share it with someone else, and it's just this whole, I loved this aspect around, the series with related to work and career and life and finding purpose and creativity, because it's the idea of safetiness in the body, it's so basic, but it impacts everything. Like, I know that the money and the career and the relationship and all the stuff and the relationships with my family and friends and all the stuff is foundation. The foundation has to come from my place in relationship to my body, my nervous system, and the whole thing.
Yeah, because what you're regulated for is it's like a tuning fork.
Yeah.
You know, that's what then you're going to want to tune more to. So if you're feeling the chaos and dysregulation in your body, it's like you're going to attune more to chaos and dysregulation outside of you. And that then it looks like, you know, unbalanced finances and passionate, crazy relationships that are really toxic.
Or
And
clients that are like, well, let's do the thing, you know? Yeah.
yeah, abusive clients and like people overstepping their boundaries and stuff. And I've been saying this to people lately where I'm like, I just really wonder what the world would look like if we all looked at each other and thought, how could I make this person feel more safe right now? Even just looking in the mirror. And so I say this, and I've said this to you too, it's like, first step is, how can I feel more safe, right? Second step is, how can I make this other person feel safe? And because that's important. We have to feel safe first. We don't, because if not, we're just, again, self-abandonment. But I think we would all act very differently, because I have noticed, like, I've recently had some conflict with people I'm very, very close to, because that's what happens. The more intimate and closer you get, it's going to come up. And I remember and the funny thing is, I'm starting to notice through the body work that I'm doing, like I said, where other situations come up and I'm tuning into my body. So I was in an argument with this person, and they were just kind of like saying things that I was like, whoa, that is not kind in my opinion. And it was the sensations that happen when I'm doing TRE start to occur in my body. So when I do TRE and I'm reaching an edge where I know I need to take a break, it feels like heat, tingling, frustration, anger. And then that's when I go, okay, time to take a break. I'm going to rest from the tremoring, from the TRE. I'm sitting in my car arguing with this person, and I feel heat, tingling, frustration in my body. And so then my brain goes, wait, we need to take a break. And so I stopped the argument midway through, and I went, what resolution are you looking for right now? And the person paused, and we both paused, and we took a second. And then we were able to like come back to a normal place of speaking and then have a much different, but that's why I'm saying it's so tied together.
The pause.
Yeah, because as I'm doing this body work, this new, and I can't wait, Thierry, I cannot wait till I'm certified. It's changing my life, right? I'm seeing it. I'm applying the same stuff that I'm learning in that body work in every other area of my life to have these wildly better experiences. And I wish more people knew that, because my friend pointed out to me the other day, I called him up, because for me, I have a lot of difficulty feeling anger. So that's typically something that comes out a lot when I'm forced, when there's like a boundary's been pushed, that comes up. And so I call up my friend who's very regulated. He's done a lot of work, and I'm like frustrated right at first, a little annoyed. Then as he's talking, he notices I'm frustrated. And then finally he says to me, he's like, I feel like you are angry and you need to let that out. Go for it. Lets me be angry. Okay. I got to feel it. Felt good just to express it, and whatever. He helps me work through it. It's a very safe place to express my anger. And then he points out, he's like, I wonder like what things happened before this, because I guarantee there's like 10 steps before this so that you could have stopped this from feeling this way. And that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm talking about, those signals, is our body's giving us signals saying, hey, your boundaries are being pushed. Hey, you need rest. Hey, you need nourishment. Hey, you need sustenance. Hey, you need a break. Hey, you need disconnect. You need to like disconnect for a little bit. Hey, you need God, right? It's like all these things are my body's telling us. When I ignore them, I am 10 times more likely to be frustrated, flip out, have anxiety, grind my teeth, tense my body, be in pain, not sleep, have insomnia, right? Because the insomnia, the anxiety, all these things, they're a byproduct of all the other, like they're the last result of all the other signals that I ignored beforehand. So people, that's why we, to tie it back to the beginning, when we talk about like just taking a pill or doing certain things, it's like, yeah, you can do that, and you're now hiding the last signal your body gave you.
Yeah.
That was saying, I need help, I'm here, listen to me. But I think a lot of people don't even know where to start, and they don't know what to do. They don't understand sensation. I'm still learning. It's funny. Now that I'm tuning in, things that I thought were excitement and passion, I'm learning are unsafety. Whoa. Like, especially when it comes to dating and relationships.
Yep.
Ooh, butterflies, this and that. No.
Run the way.
Exactly. That's danger, babe.
Just come straight, run the way.
Exactly. Like,
it's funny, like, we're going to wrap up soon, but just since rewiring to safety, who I'm attracted to has totally changed. And that's been really wild
Yeah.
to witness. And what I used to think was like sexy chemistry and all the things, I'm like, oh boy, yeah, that ain't.
I'm like repulsed by it now.
Yeah.
I feel it. And it's funny, it will start to come up in me and I could get the excitement. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I know what this is like. I don't like this.
Yeah.
It's a type of arousal because it is just called that. It's arousal in the body. And it's hyper arousal to then that's where you know, like, man, I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
I want to feel calm.
Yeah. And it's cool like watching the around certain people, the feeling calm.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, this feels different.
Yeah. And that has been the coolest thing because as a practitioner too, as watching other people regulate to my state is also a lot of fun. And then as I'm doing TRE, I'm doing group sessions now, I'm practicing for my certification, watching people attune to each other and observing and seeing how, like, for example, I watched a group tremor last weekend. One person was having a really fun experience with it, laughing, giggling. Another person was looking around, feeling very unsafe. In her hearing his laughter, she started to calm down and her body calmed. And then I noticed the other person laughed. And then everyone started attuning to this joy and laughter and having this really cool collective experience. And my job there was just to like keep checking in, make sure people feel safe, observe.
So cool.
Yeah. And I'm watching it happen. And you can see, and the cool thing is the person I was having a lot of joy and laughter is very secure. They're very regulated. So since it was easy for everyone to regulate toward them. If that person was also dysregulated, it probably would have been more chaos. And then it would have been on me to really hold it and try it. Because people will naturally regulate to the most regulated person in the room.
That's cool, that.
Yeah. So it's the more grounded you get, the more you practice that, the more you can kind of ensure that other people, and it's a lot to hold. It's difficult sometimes in the body.
Sign us up, baby.
I know, but that's the emotional capacity. That's why the more you grow, I've been talking about this like on my YouTube channel, like website, like all kind of stuff. I've been talking about it more of like growing your emotional capacity and how to do that and what's
how we serve in the world.
Yeah. So hopefully we talked about everything
it was
good to talk about.
I think